Will Levis, and you talk to the coaches, like, they've had to rip him out of the weight room because he works out too much. He's one of those workout warriors, a quarterback. He needs a little bit more Tom Brady flexibility in his upper body, and you see that with missed layup throws or being off target with short throws. So I think in that 10 to 15 range, where is he with his accuracy, touch, and leading receivers to the right spot is what scouts are going to be looking for today.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it'll be very fascinating to see how he adjusts his training as he goes to the next level. And you and others who have mock drafts have, in one order or another, we have Stroud and Young going 1-2. Some people have Stroud going 1, some people have Young going 1. So in terms of Levis and in terms of his draft stock and where he might go, how much do you think he can actually help himself today?
I think it's just another, step in the process. I don't put a whole lot of stock in it, to be completely honest, in terms of, being in your own facility, throwing to your own receivers, scripted workout that he's been working on with Jordan Palmer. He was in here at 8 a.m. today, running through it again. So he knows what he's doing, and this should be an easy test for him. But I think the more important thing is, tier 1, you said, it's C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young in whichever order you have them. Tier 2 is Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. We're going to see Richardson next week in Gainesville workout. We saw him at the Combine. He's a physical freak. I think showcasing his arm today for Will Levis, but more importantly, you talked about those meeting with 6 other teams outside of Houston. What he does on the board, showing his intelligence, showing his experience, showing that he's worked with 2 NFL coordinators in the past 2 years, and that he's ready for a pro-style system is going to help him when teams are trying to decide, do we go with the upside, the enormous upside in a 13-game starter with Richardson, or do we go with a safer guy who's been through a lot more battles and is more NFL ready right now for a team like the Colts that don't really have a starter unless they think Gardner Minshew is a guy they want to go into the season with as their number 1 guy?
Yeah, there has been some talk about perhaps the Colts being very interested in a guy like Levis. Might really fit the kinds of things they're trying to do. I know you have him going 7th right now in your latest mock draft. Of course, we expect all of this to change before the real thing. And Todd McShay will be back with you in just a sec. Kelsey.
Well, Hannah, as Todd said, Will Levis gave scouts a lot to love, especially in 2021, posting his highest QBR in Kentucky history. But he wasn't able to replicate that success last season. One major issue for him, he was sacked on over 10% of his dropbacks. That is the highest rate by any SEC quarterback over the last 10 seasons. So Tim Hasselbeck in studio with us now. And Tim, what's your evaluation of some of the biggest strengths that you've seen from Levis?
I agree a lot with what Todd McShay just said. I think his biggest asset is his strong arm. I think Will Levis has kind of been blessed with an opportunity to throw the football better than most people are able to throw the football, and that's including guys that are coming out aspiring to play in the NFL. He has a huge arm. So I think when I look at that, that's the number one thing that people are going to fall in love with, and why, quite honestly, he finds himself kind of in this top 4 group in the NFL. He's a super talented guy, and he's played a lot of football. Todd also referenced, Anthony Richardson's 13 starts. You're basically looking at nearly 40 starts for Will Levis at the college level. And so you just are a little bit more prepared. That paired with the big arm, that's a lot to like when you think of him as a prospect.
You mentioned all the starts and all the experience that he has, but his numbers from 2021 to 2022, they do look different. We saw a drop in those. So what concerns do you have about him?
The decision-making at times. And I also would agree with Todd. He is a guy that's kind of gotten muscled up a little bit, and that has impacted his accuracy some. But I think it's the decision-making that I'm more concerned with. You look at the Florida game, the Tennessee game, the Vanderbilt game, and you think, man, for a guy that has this kind of experience, that seems like an odd decision. I think in the process, when you can sit down and watch the season with him and say, what were you thinking on this throw? I think it'll tell you a lot about where Will Levis is in terms of what type of decision maker he is, what he really knows, what he was actually seeing. And so I think when you do that, you can probably try to find, your comfort zone with where he is as a decision maker. But that would be, at least right now, the knock on him in terms of a prospect.
And of course, something that you don't see in Pro Day, as Todd mentioned. They know exactly what's happening here. Mel Kiper Jr. has the Colts potentially trading up to take him 3rd in his most recent mock draft.
A team owner personally engaging the top picks. He's there today in Lexington as well. But what do you take from what you heard from those 2 quarterbacks about the Panthers owner?
Yeah, the last time, Hannah, I remember an owner being at a pro day looking at a quarterback was Robert Griffin III back in Washington when Daniel Snyder was there and they drafted him that year. So it's been that long since I can remember an owner actually being at a pro day. So it is very rare. But it's interesting. It's not just David Tepper. It's his wife, Nicole. They're very much in this process. All four of these quarterbacks, from Stroud to Bryce Young to Levis today, and then next week with Anthony Richardson, they want to get to know the person. And how much influence they have on the decision, I think it's going to be Scott Fitterer, the GM's decision, along with Frank Reich, the head coach, who obviously has a long history of working with great quarterbacks. But to know that the owners involved can either be a positive or a negative, depending on how you look at it. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And after the draft, kind of what the information we got from the organization in terms of, was Tepper that much involved? Was it kind of a tiebreaker? Or did he just say, here's what we think, and you guys make a decision?
Yeah, we'll see if they can all come to a consensus easily or if there's a prolonged discussion. And I'm just wondering from your standpoint, because now you've been there in person, you've seen Young, you've seen Stroud in your mock draft, in your latest one a couple weeks ago. You do have Young going first to Carolina, and then you have Stroud going to Houston. Have you seen anything the last couple of days to switch that order up?
Listen, I still have Bryce Young as QB1, but Vegas thinks that C.J. Stroud is the odds-on favorite to be the number 1 overall pick, and I would understand that if he was the number 1 overall pick. Listen, this is an unbelievable opportunity and position to be in by moving up to number 1 for Carolina, because it's a rare year that you legitimately have 2 elite prospects that can be stars in the league. It was a rare opportunity for the Bears to have 2 elite quarterbacks to be able to move down to 9 and get everything they got in terms of picks and DJ Moore. Poise, presence, the ability to extend, and the ability to make last-second decisions. That's what he does best. Everything's calm around him. The game is slow. He's got to extend the play. He feels the pressure, and then he's going to find a receiver at the very last second before taking a hit throwing down the field. You can't see that at a pro day, but we saw that in 2 years of tape, including 2021 when he was the Heisman winner.
And we always hear that about quarterbacks that go to the next level is the game is so much faster. So to hear you say that his processing ability is so above par.
It's elite, Hannah.
And that the game is slow to him, right? That's everything. And you mentioned Richardson. I just want to remind people, obviously he's going to have his pro day coming up at Florida. He absolutely wowed people at the Combine, and that's going to take place on Thursday. All right, Todd, we'll see you in a bit.
When you look at the numbers and you listen to what our analysts are saying, it seems like you really can't go wrong with either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. Both rank in the top 10 of 77 qualified Power 5 players in QBR overall, under pressure on third down, as well as against both man and zone coverages over the last 2 seasons. So, Tim, back with us now. And Tim, walk us through C.J. Stroud's strengths as we get ready for this draft.
What's interesting, you heard Todd talk about it. He's got a big, strong arm, and he's great playing from inside the pocket. And I think that's the one area where people have said, well, he's way better than Bryce Young in that arena. And I would say, yes, that's true, but he's also really good at creating. Now, we didn't see him create as much, but there's evidence of it to give you confidence that he can do it at the next level. Great example against Georgia in the college football playoff. So he starts front side, doesn't like it. He comes back side, okay? But he's going to be forced to escape outside the pocket to the right. Well, now he's a traffic cop, directs his receiver to the way he wants to go, and makes a great throw into the end zone for a score. Same football game, similar situation. Starts front side, the route combination doesn't define itself. You get a whiff up front by your left guard. Now, this should be a negative play. Instead, it's great awareness, competitiveness in the pocket. He's able to escape, get out, and then make another nice throw in the end zone for a score. And so while he is a pocket passer, that's his strength, he's still also a pretty good creator.
He is able to do so many things. We've seen it already. But so is Bryce Young. What are some of his strengths that you think we're really going to look good at the next level?
Yeah, similar thing, almost just the opposite. So everyone knows, is outstanding at creating. Todd just talked about his awareness, that spatial awareness in the pocket, knowing how to get out and make the last second play. Well, how about playing from inside the pocket? He's really good at that as well. And I think there's plenty enough evidence of his arm strength and his ability to play from inside the pocket. Against Kansas State, they're going to attack this backside corner. And this ball is going to be thrown from the 40-yard line. He's reading that defender who's deep, and he has to launch this football over his head. That's well into the end zone for a touchdown. That's a big-time throw. Similar situation against Vanderbilt. College football, hashes are wider. So from the far hash to rip this throw all the way outside the numbers at over 35 yards is really, really impressive. And so I think when you look at him, his best attribute, absolutely, creating the off-schedule plays. But that doesn't mean he still can't be really good from inside the pocket. Both these guys very good, kind of players top to bottom.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.